Okay, it's 3:00. I'd like to call this Public Services Committee to order. Mike, if you can take the roll.
Yeah, we'll start with Chair Brown.
Don Brown, attending remotely from Mount Clemens, Michigan, Macomb County.
Committee Chair Farrington.
Commissioner Farrington, participating remotely from Utica, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Commissioner Kleinfeld attending remotely from East Point, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Romano.
Commissioner Romano, District 4, Sterling Heights, present and participating remotely in Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Kraft. Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Wallace.
Commissioner Wallace attending remotely from Mount Clemens, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Song.
Commissioner Song attending remotely from Warren, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Commissioner Van Sickle attending remotely Sterling Heights, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Zinner.
Commissioner Zinner attending remotely from Harrison Township, Michigan, Macomb County.
Commissioner Matuzik.
Commissioner Matuzik attending remotely, Clinton Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Commissioner Sabatini attending remotely from Macomb Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
And Commissioner Nard.
Commissioner Nard attended remotely from Warren, Macomb County, Michigan.
And that completes the roll.
Thank you very much, Mike. At this time, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'd like to have adoption of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Romano adopts the agenda.
Van Sickle, second.
The motion has been adopted by Romano, second by Van Sickle. Mike, please put up a vote.
Matuzik votes yes.
And that motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes dated March 17th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion by Sabatini.
Commissioners, do I hear a motion?
Support
by Romano. Gee.
Motion made by Sabatini, approved by Romano. Thank you very much. Mike, please put up the vote.
Matuzik votes yes.
That motion passes 11-0.
Excellent. The next item on the agenda is public participation. The first opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes on an item which is on today's agenda. The second opportunity will be later for public participation, and that's for those who wish to speak on issues other than what's on today's agenda. For those planning to speak during public participation, please be advised, according to Rule 21 of the adopted board rules, personal attacks, coarse and derogatory language, and cursing will not be tolerated. Individuals using such language will be removed from the meeting. Also, those who call in by phone for public participation will be asked to speak first in an orderly fashion. Those who join virtually will be asked to type their name into the Google chat box. Those names will then be called in the order of which they are received. Staff, do we have anyone on the phone?
Chair, we don't appear to have anyone on the phone or in the chat box.
Okay, I'll give it one more moment in case anyone wants to do public participation. Seeing no public participation, we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda. And I want to, first of all, would like to have a motion to receive and file department overview from Public Works Commissioner Candace Miller. Do I have a motion?
Moved by Kleinfeld.
Support Wallace.
Moved by Kleinfeld, support by Wallace. Thank you very much. Welcome, Commissioner Miller. Thank you for attending.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted to attend today. I appreciate you extending the very gracious invitation on behalf of your committee. And so hello to all the commissioners as well. And to the new commissioners, hello. I'm sorry we're meeting this way. Some of you I haven't met in person yet. I'm joined today with two of my folks, Vince Astorino, who's our operations manager, and he's going to be going through the presentation with me and assisting in some of the narrative. And I'm also joined by Brian Baker, who is my chief deputy. And he will chime in once in a while, maybe as well. And he also is on for the following item, which is a resolution asking the board for their full faith and credit, and he'll be presenting on that. Well, actually, it's not for the full faith and credit. It is for a drainage district. But anyway, some of you, most of you understand, I think, how the drain boards work now. Some of you have asked me, how come you haven't been called to a drain board meeting? The state law actually requires the drainage districts, when they hold their meetings, to be comprised of, and in Macomb County, this is myself as the chairman, by virtue of the fact that I'm the Public Works Commissioner, then the county executive or his designee. In this case, Executive Hackle has designated Brian Santo from the Roads Department. You all know him, and he comes to all of our drain board meetings. Then the third slot is a rotation depending on which drain board is having the meeting. So our biggest drainage district is what we call the MID, the Macomb Interceptor Drain District. It's comprised of 11 communities in Macomb County and about over 500,000 toilets flush through there. And Commissioner Van Sickle has been the member on that board. Then we have, excuse me, the next largest drain district in the county is what we call our 8.5 mile, more commonly known as the Chappaqua Drain District, which is our big retention pump station down at 9 Mile and Jefferson. And it's a district that handles all of East Point and most of St. Clair Shores. And Commissioner Kleinfeld is our member on that one. Again, maybe I didn't say this, but it's because it's the commissioner who has the largest share of the apportionment share of that particular drain district by representation. Then our other, the next one in line is what we call, and I'm not going to go through them all, but these are the really big ones, is the Martin Retention Basin. And that is located in St. Clair Shores, but it handles it handles all of Roseville. And it also, which is about 80% of what it does, and then about 20% comes from the remainder of St. Clair Shores. Then we have all kinds of other drain boards because we have 475 drains in Macomb County. And so occasionally the rest of you will be asked to come to a drain board meeting, depending on what's going on there. I'm going to try to be somewhat brief today. I could talk for hours. I'm sure you'd like to listen to me for hours, but I'm going to spare you all that. But after this meeting, particularly for the new commissioners, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. We would like to do at some point, perhaps some open tours, maybe once we get through these COVID, once we get them under control, the COVID numbers a little bit more. Maybe we could do a tour at our Chappaqua pump station, at some of these other sites. Whatever you'd like to do. We are here to give you any and all information that we possibly can about any project that's under our jurisdiction, or if you have a particular drain or issue with some of your constituents in your district, in your county commission district, pick up the phone. We're here all the time, so we'll be happy to help you however we can. Okay, what I'm going to do now today is I'm going to focus. Let me just tell you in full transparency. I want to get myself in line as quickly as I can with all of you. And I've talked to Chairman Brown and Chairman Farrington and Commissioner Kleinfeld and some of you others. The county is about to get a big glut of federal stimulus dollars. And I am intimately familiar with the criteria that the federal government has put in place for these dollars and how they can be spent. They are supposed to be transformational. They're supposed to be for one-time projects. I mean, the biggest word going right now, the buzzword, is infrastructure. And so I'm going to be presenting to you principally today on the 3 marquee projects that I've identified. And I mean, I got 100 projects, but these are the 3 that we are really looking to ask the County Board of Commissioners to consider helping us with some of these funds. So let me just, we're going to talk about the projects that we're talking about is, first of all, what we call Segment 6, which is a $16 million rehabilitation project on 15 Mile by Garfield, essentially. That's in the Macomb Interceptor Drainage District. As I told you, that's 11 communities. We have another project going on right now that I'm not asking you for any help for. That's what we call Segment 5. We're very creative here. We went to Segment 5, then we go to Segment 6. But that's how we follow the bouncing ball here at the Public Works. Anyway, Segment 5 is a $30 million rehabilitation project that is currently underway. Commissioner Van Sickle and Chairman Brown have both been out to the site to see this. I mean, this is our interceptor that's 65 feet under the surface. And as you all remember, when I took this office, 4 days before I walked into the door here, there was the largest infrastructure disaster in Michigan's history, quite frankly, with the big sinkhole on 15 Mile in Fraser. So we fixed that. We then did an extremely comprehensive inspection program, and it is amazing what you find when you inspect underground. And what we found is things that would make you pause about going to sleep at night, and I am not exaggerating. We have some serious issues. If we cannot have another sinkhole on 15 Mile Road, we have got to fix this. So we're underway with Segment 5, which again is in Sterling Heights, across from the high school there, right at the ITC corridor off of 15 Mile. If you drove by there, you'd see a bunch of construction equipment. That's a $30 million project. I'm not asking you for any assistance with that today. However, the next part I am, and that's Segment 6, which came in. We just let this bid a week ago to a company called Rickman, which is a Sterling Heights company. So a Macomb County firm. We're delighted with that. One of our local guys, they do excellent work. Their bid was lower than the engineer's estimate, but $16 million is still a little bit of change in your blue jeans, so we're looking for cash. Then I'm going to talk to you about the Chapatin 9 Mile Pump Station, which is a $33 million project that we have going on. This is again at our Chapatin retention basin at 9 Mile and Jefferson. We've done an extensive master plan all over the whole county, and what we found down at Chapatin is we are probably responsible, and certainly will be, for basement flooding with sewage going into people's basements there. Why? Because we don't have the redundancy that we need with the pumps that are there, which are old, by the way. But secondly, whether it's climate change or, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, we are getting much more intense rains. Heavier rains, more intensity, and a lot more of it in a short period of time. So that's what we're going to talk about there. And then the last one I'd like to just discuss with you for a few minutes this afternoon is, again, at Chapatin. It's what we call our in-system storage, $17 million. I'm going to tell you the truth. You all ran for office for different reasons. I ran for this office because I wanted to stop combined sewer overflows going into our beautiful, magnificent Lake St. Clair. We like to point our fingers at our neighbors, Oakland, and say, look, they're dumping all these CSOs on our head, which is true. But we don't have clean hands in Macomb County. We've been doing it for years, and we need to stop doing it. We can't keep generationally pushing this on to our kids and our grandchildren. And every time it rains, we start discharging sewage into Lake St. Clair. So this is a project that, we had I don't want to go through this all. I don't want to use all my time up here. Anyway, so those are the 3. If you go to the next slide, Vince. This is just very quickly before I get to these projects. This just gives you an idea of how extensive the underground infrastructure is that our department has responsibility for. I mentioned about the 2 retention basins. 68 miles of large diameter sanitary sewer districts. We transport an awful lot of flow every year. We do, on the stormwater side, we do all the engineering plans for, I mean, they're coming out of the local municipalities, but we are a cog in the wheel, part of the process. So, you know, we always talk about our vision here in our department as, which I've identified as water quality, quality of life, and how can we be a critical component of economic prosperity. So a lot of these things feed into that. Obviously, on the environmental side, we've now defined for the first time 24/7 notification protocols for spills in our drains, all kinds of things along there. Next slide. Drain maintenance. We do, as I told you, we have 475 drains, and the truth is, most of them, almost all of them, have not been touched in decades. So we sometimes think this department, you know, was almost like a startup company. It's amazing. But anyway, we've been out there cleaning these drains like crazy. The County Board of Commissioners has been extremely generous in assisting us with a 50-50 match program. I think, I forget the number now, how much we got last time or how much is in our budget. Brian could tell me. I think it's 100 grand, 75. I think it's 75. Yeah, okay, 75. So we take the 75,000 that you very graciously give us, and we double it, right? So we go into the individual communities, and I know we did give you a handout where you can see the drain improvements that we did just in the last year. They go to, we touch every single municipality. So one has happened in your district. And so we pay for 50%, and then the, you know, if it's Macomb Township or the city of Warren or whatever, the municipality pays the other half. So we do all the soil erosion inspections. We are the, I think I can say we're the leader in the county with digitization, with putting everything online. People don't have to come into our office anymore. It's amazing. We're just about to do a big rollout on, nobody really needs to come in personally anymore to do business with us. It's really, we've invested in technology, and we appreciate the help from the county board, although we got a major grant from the Army Corps of Engineers to help us with a lot of these things as well. But the county IT department has been extremely helpful to us, and we appreciate that. Next slide. Okay, this is just a map of the mid. Many of you are familiar with this, or you've seen it. What you're seeing here in the green, that's the green part. That actually is what they call that's the Oakland arm. So that's coming from Oakland County. And where you see the nexus there of the green and the orange and the red is where OMID, the Oakland Macomb Interceptor Drain District, and the MID, which is the Macomb Drain District, where that's the nexus where they intersect. That's where the segment 5, this $30 million project I mentioned to you, is ongoing right now. It's at the ITC corridor. The two systems come together there. They go down to Detroit for final and proper treatment of their flow. And then all the stuff in orange, you can see the different arms of the MID and where they all go. The one line that goes along 15 Mile, Vince, if you can just run your cursor over that, you see along 15 Mile, that's unfortunately where this interceptor keeps having sinkholes. So that's where we're really focusing. We've from a criticality standpoint, that's where we're putting our money, and I hope some of the county economic stimulus money as well. Okay, next slide. So these are the communities in the mid I mentioned to you. Next slide. We did this after the sinkhole, the big sinkhole. We did all of these. We did the inspection. We've done all kinds of rehabilitation. Which we've just spent, you can go to the next slide, Vince. We probably did about $3 million of what we call grout, where you're injecting grout into the this concrete, unreinforced concrete pipe to stop what we call weepers and gushers and infiltration that really has a negative impact on the integrity of the pipe and does end up in sinkholes. So we don't, that's in very technical terms, bad. We don't want that. Okay, so segment 6, this is what we're, as I say, we just let this bid a week or so ago, and Commissioner Van Sickle was there, so he's very familiar with this. And I appreciate him voting yes on this. We let this bid. We're looking at the construction to start this year in August, and it's going to be a 1.5 or 2 year project. Next slide. You can look here. You can see, I mean, this is not the way it should look. A pipe should look. This pipe was laid in the mid-70s. This is, again, it's 65 feet under the ground, this major interceptor. And all these local municipalities, 11 of them, all feed into this pipe. And you can see here how bad it is. When you see that H2S, what that means is hydrogen sulfate. Hydrogen sulfate, like if you're walking somewhere and you'll smell like a sewer odor because it's coming out of a manhole, you're smelling H2S. It's a hydrogen sulfate. It's what happens in sewer, you know, when the flow is being agitated, but it is highly corrosive to concrete. And that's what's happened here. It just eats the concrete away, and it starts to, you see all the exposed rebar and all of these kinds of things that are happening there. So we need to line this pipe with something that is not, that won't happen with. And we use something called Hobos, which is like a polymer type of a product that we line these pipes with. Some of the stuff you can spray on. Okay, next slide. All right. What is this one? Oh, Mia, what am I looking at? Oh, okay. I'm looking at Chapaton here. So what you're looking at here is down in southeast Macomb. We mentioned about the 8.5 mile that goes to the Chapaton, and that is the red, in red there. Vince is running his cursor along. It goes from East Point, it goes down to Chapaton. Eventually, it's all supposed to go to Detroit down the Jefferson Arm for proper treatment. But in a heavy rain, because no different than many other older communities in the country, there you have a combined system. So after a heavy rain, you're not only having sanitary sewage in this pipe, you have stormwater as well. And the pipes just can't handle the amount of flow. So we're going to talk to you about a project there. And then the other part, I guess, is the Martin we want to look at. You can see that how all these arms run up there. That's where the Martin retention is. It's behind the congregate care facility there on Jefferson. It's right by Bon Hur is the name of the road. And so it's sort of, it's south of 10 Mile. Okay, next slide. 8.5 mile, which I mentioned to you at Chapaton. We call it the 8.5 mile, but all of you know it as Chapaton. And so the Chapaton, these are the communities that are serviced. And when we assess cost, this is what happens here. But the big apportionment is from East Point, St. Clair Shores, and there's a little bit from the roads and mdot. And that's the amount of residents in there. All right, next slide. I guess we put this in because we thought it was cool. There's Tom Welsh. Big Tom Welsh, who went to high school with my parents. And Hubert Humphrey. And Joe Snyder, I think is the other fellow. He was a member of Congress then. That opened up Chapaton in '68. So it's a 28 million gallon retention. And we have about 7 discharges into the lake a year. Some years we have more because of the rain, and some years we have less. Okay, next slide. So what we found here is, I don't know, maybe Vince, I will have you step in and talk about just the next couple of, why don't you take over from me here, Vince? But go fast here so they can ask plenty of questions.
No problem. So as part of the new master plan that we went through, we actually found that the Chapaton pump station does not meet firm capacity. And what firm capacity is if there's 3 pumps at the pump station, you need to be able to run 2 of the pumps in the largest rain event and have a spare. So the condition that we have now is that when we have really large rain events, we have to run all 3 pumps in order to get the flow out. So if one of those pumps fails, or if we also have high lake levels, which we've been experiencing, we can have an issue to where we can't keep up. We can't pump enough flow and the water will continue to rise upstream of the station. There's two main lines that come in here. There's a 12-foot diameter tunnel, and then there's a double box, which is like 7 foot by 6 foot, that come in this way. So there's the 3 pumps, and then there's an emergency bypass that we can open. This emergency bypass runs through here. You can see these arrows. And when lake levels are high, if we open that, the lake will actually come back. And that's where Candace was talking about we could cause basement backups or flooding or things along those lines.
We actually think we've probably been responsible for some basement flooding in the past. I say we. Some of it happened probably before me, and some maybe since I've been here as well. So it's not a good situation.
So that's the problem that we have. And the solution that we came up with was to build a new pump station to isolate these 2 pipes that are coming in. The main pump station that's already existing would handle the 12-foot diameter pipe, the 8.5 tunnel that you can see that runs all the way up to East Point, and it would pump all that flow. We would then build a secondary pump station, which would pump all of the 9-mile drain flow. And we'd build this in a way where we'd build it right in the existing basin itself. What we found was that was going to be the cheapest option for us to use existing infrastructure and to build it right in place. And you can kind of see some very high level conceptual ideas for that, for us to be able to bring it in. We would size this pump station to be sized to basically one of the large storm pumps that's there. And just to give you kind of an idea of scale of these pumps, when these pumps are running, you can fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool in about 1 minute. That's how big these pumps are. They move a lot of water. So
that's why I'm saying that we'd like to have you, some of you that have not been to the Chapelton station, as Vince is telling you the size of these pumps, when you're standing there looking at these things, it is amazing. They're large. So, okay, I think we can go to the next slide, Vince, not to interrupt you. But this just is telling you that our construction time and the cost, $33 million. All right, next slide. In-system storage. Some of you know that we had a very adversarial relationship, unfortunately, with Eagle, where we had a canal expansion program that we were trying to get a permit for. The County Board of Commissioners had passed a unanimous resolution in support of it. The City of St. Clair Shores City Council had passed a unanimous resolution in support of it. Every one of our state senators in Macomb County and every one of our state representatives in Macomb County all were in support of it. Our entire congressional delegation, but yet the state said, no, we permit you to discharge all this crap, excuse my language, that's what it is, into the lake. So why do you want to improve? But my theory is the largest room is always a room for improvement. We have a lot of room to improve. But anyway, they shut us down. Now I'm not going away. So we have another plan. This is not as good as the other plan, but it is something that could help us reduce, as you see the storage plan, about 30%, somewhere in the 30 percentile of what we discharge annually into Lake St. Clair. So it's a big start. And Vince, do you have the little thing that shows us how this runs? I don't know if we put that in the PowerPoint.
I did not put that in here.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Essentially what we're doing, we're going to be putting a rubber bladder, a weir, up by Beaconsfield in East Point and I-94, which we will inflate when we have the heavy rain events to sort of help us store the flow. And this is a very large pipe. And we think by doing this, we can add up to 7 million gallons of storage in a rain event. So we sort of hold the flow back. We've engineered it so we don't flood basements or anything. But then after the rain event is over, we can slowly release that again and again, having all of this go down to Detroit for proper treatment rather than us discharging it into the lake. So this is our other...
I do have that animation, Candace. I thought you were talking about something else. Sorry, we can show it.
Okay. I don't know how much time we have, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to go too long. Oh, no, this is not the animation we're talking about. This is the other one. What you're looking at here is we had a drone. We went out. I might have them restart this again. Can you restart it, Vince? What we did here, this comes out into Lake St. Clair. This is from one of our retention basins. We had ice cover. So we flew our drone over there. So of course there was no, the water was very still. And this was after a rain event when we were discharging. And you're about to see what goes out into the lake after a heavy rain event. This thing's going to start turning now. And you will see what we discharge. Now you can look at that and tell me what you think it is, okay? And that is happening at 2 different retention basins. That is our beautiful, beautiful Lake St. Clair. And we are doing this, all of us. We got to stop doing it. It's been going on for decades. At our Chapaton station, because we were sort of in a drought condition until about, look at that. I don't know, what do you want to call that? Chocolate pudding? I don't know what you want to call it. It is gross. Gross. Has to stop. So we're trying to do everything we can to do some value engineering to stop some of this stuff. Anyway, this is what we do, and we don't want to do it anymore. So that's really our let's see, we got anything else? What do you got there? Oh, this is the in-system storage. This is how it's going to work. I'll let you see this, and then I'll try to move along here, Mr. Chairman. You can ask questions. So tell them what you're looking at, Vince.
Yeah, so this is showing inflatable bladders that we would install inside the sewer. At the start of the event, we would inflate them. We'd store water upstream of them. And that would create a storage wedge of water. At the end of the event, when things are starting to come back down, we could then start deflating those bags and then send that water down for proper treatment to GLWA. One of the great things about this as well is that every bit of water that we keep in the pipe upstream is less water that we have to treat with sodium hypochlorite or their high strength bleach. So we're saving money there too.
So this project, as I said, is 17 million. And our other project, this is the in-system storage again, 17 million. Then we have our other 2 that I'm asking you to consider. Segment 6 at 16 million, the pump station at 33 million. Obviously, you're not going to give me all of that money to pay for the thing entirely. But I'm asking you for very realistically, and I'm saying it with a straight face. Can you give us some help, right? With all the money that the county is going to get, is there any way that you could help with these projects? I've also asked our entire state delegation, I've talked to every one of them personally, our senators and our reps in all of your districts, and sent a letter to the governor, and I've talked to the governor asking for some of the state money as well. If we can just commingle some of these funds, it's a lot less impact on our ratepayers. So those are sort of my 3 big asks. But again, we have so many different things that are going on in our department, all kinds of things. And I'm happy to talk to you about what you've seen today or any other question that any of you have. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Candace. Appreciate it. I for one, want to say thank you for everything you've done since you've been in office, and appreciate everything you're doing to look out for the ratepayers and our environment. In fact, it's interesting you brought up the assistance, because putting the pollutants, and that was a gross picture, by the way, putting the pollutants down out into the lake is not just for the population of Macomb. It's for the entire state, and I'd even say Canada. So it should be something that's handled not only by us, but by those at a higher level. But once again, thank you. Commissioner Brown has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Candace, for coming out and very clearly and efficiently stating what the issues are and the needs that need to be funded to take care of it. Infrastructure is our #1 problem in this country and in our state, and certainly right here in Macomb County, and we need to address it. And we, better than most people in Southeast Michigan, understand the impacts of pollution going into our precious Great Lake, Lake St. Clair, the heart of the Great Lakes, as it was called. This board of commissioners has an opportunity. You're part of a long line of commissioners that have stepped up to look after the lake. back in the mid-90s when Lake St. Clair was a mess. Weeds are sucked in along the shoreline and just sewage. It smelled like rotten sewer all summer long. We couldn't use the lake. The Board of Commissioners formed a Blue Ribbon Commission to look at what was happening. I didn't know, and most people on the board didn't know what was going on. And we found out that we were polluting our own lake. We were making our own mess. And so we set about making investments in trying to monitor what was going on, to assess what the problem was. And then once we've determined where the problems were, we set about trying to go about correcting them. A long road, starting from the lake and working our way back, inspecting sewers, finding out where illegal discharges were, where people were polluting. We've come a long way since the early 90s, but there's still so much work that needs to be done because the problem is so large. Back in the 90s, Oakland County built 12 towns, helped to reduce a lot of the pollution that went into the lake. But they couldn't build it big enough because the cost was astronomical. But they did the best they could at the time. Similarly, Candace Miller is doing the best we can do today to try to address the problem at Chappaton. Yes, we had a plan that would greatly reduce the discharge into the lake, as you saw with those brown plumes. But she's going to do the next best thing we can, given our circumstances, and reduce at least by a third. It's just start to the right step. We've got many needs in this county, and that money coming in from Washington is sorely needed for many areas. But what better way to apply some of that money to projects like this, because it helps the ratepayers of over a broad area, helps them financially, as well as ultimately takes care of the Great Lake and clean up our own mess. So I'm not sure what the mix will be, but I certainly support making investments with some of the money coming from Washington to address some of these problems. We can't do all three. I'm not sure how it'll be divided out, but certainly we have to decide which one we're going to do. But certainly I'm going to support putting the money and make the significant investments to make some of these happen. We can't continue to let those discharges go in the lake when we know about it, when we know we have the ability to do something about it. To not do anything would be irresponsible. And so I'm not saying all the money, but certainly we're getting a lot. We're getting $64 million this year and another $64 million next year, about 12 months from the first crunch. So you do the numbers and deduct out what we need for some of these problems with the lake. I think we can afford to give some to that issue. There are other needs in the county, and certainly we're going to address those as well. But this is one area that we need to be aware of, and we know, because we know now, we have a responsibility to do something about it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Candace. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you, Chair. Candace, you're referring to ARP, the American Recovery Plan, which is the COVID plan when you're talking about this money, correct? And this doesn't even address if we get the infrastructure package passed in Washington.
Yeah, you're right. I'm talking about the stimulus money. The infrastructure plan is a whole nother tranche of cash, right? So you know me, Commissioner, if that passes, I will be on your agenda again. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing, the infrastructure. I sort of think that's going to pass. So.
And some commissioners, never have to go to a drain meeting. I think since we started having them, I don't think I've had a single month where I got to go without having to go to a drain meeting. So we've gotten to know each other quite well, obviously. But what kind of money, what is our dollar amount going to be coming in with respect to that would be parsed out for infrastructure? Because it's so much. It's for businesses. It's for our needs for COVID. Do we have any idea?
That's a question for, that's not my question, I guess. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how much. So that would be I know how much you're getting. I know that my projects meet the federal criteria. So there's no problem with this, and everything that we'll do because at some point the federal government will come back and audit how you're spending these funds, and our audit will pass 1,000%. It all meets, it checks every box. But there's a lot of other ways you can spend those funds as well. And I agree with Chairman Brown. I mean, I'm not asking you for all your money, but a little bit, right? Some of it. Can you help us out here with this?
And I actually don't think I thought that you could answer that question. I think that we need to take a really good look at that during budget, how much money and what percentage is going to go to businesses, what percentage we plan on using for infrastructure. So I think there's going to be a lot that we have to kind of go through there with respect to that. I don't have anything else. Obviously, you know, I've not only been through my drain meetings, but I've been through the others, and I've seen most of these. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And yeah, below ground infrastructure is not nearly as sexy as a brand new bridge or a refined road, but it's just as important, if not more important. And Brian Santos could answer this, but I believe above ground roads cannot be included in the CARES Act funding. That's my understanding. So Candace is correct. Her department needs can be addressed by it. Vice Chair Song.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Candace.
Hi, how are you?
You in these little boxes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that presentation. That was very informative for me. Was there ever a virtual or public meeting in regards to the Eagle denial? I heard that there was, but I didn't hear any information. So did they get any feedback from the public? Could you elaborate on why they made that decision?
Yes, they had a virtual meeting because by the time we got to the actual time for the permit, we were into the COVID. But we had been working with them on the project and others for, you know, previous to COVID. But yes, they did have a virtual meeting. You know, we had people from, as I say, the St. Clair Shores City Council that were very supportive. I will tell you in full transparency, we also had some neighbors that are immediately adjacent to the Chapaton facility that did not want the project. So there was a couple of people that, well, I don't know, a handful that were opposed also. If you're familiar with Chapaton, if you haven't been out there, there's a beautiful spit of land that goes out into the lake. And right now, all it's got on there is trees. And these are, you know, expensive condos right there on the lake. And they like seeing the trees. They didn't want anything there. But, you know, we thought what we were doing was an environmentally good, out-of-the-box value-add engineering proposal. But anyway, they did deny it. So that is that, you know, we take the no and we go on to the next plan. And that's what we're talking about today. That if we would have gotten a permit for the original plan, we would have been able to reduce our combined sewer overflows into Lake St. Clair in the 70 percentile, almost 80%. Would have been amazing. And, you know, the other option to really, if you really want to address this, is to separate all the sanitary sewers from your storm drains. We looked at that. The cost, Commissioner, to do that in East Point and St. Clair Shores would have been almost $400 million. Besides tearing up all these roads and everything, obviously that was a non-starter. We can't really go down that road. So, but that's what happened with Eagle, whatever they're called now. And I keep calling them the DEQ still. My whole life I've called them the DEQ. Now they got a new name. But we are working with them very closely. Vince Astorino has met with them and has talked to them on the phone all the time about our new project and other things that we're doing there.
Okay, thank you. Just one other thing, I will probably email you to follow up. I did have a few constituents talk to me about the Oakland arm that runs through Macomb County, right? In addition to the Red Run Creek.
The Oakland, the 12 towns George W. Kuhn retention basin facility for Oakland County discharges their combined, they're actually in Madison Heights, but they're right at the border, right at DeQuinder there. And on the other side of DeQuinder, on the Macomb County side, is where the Red Run drain starts. They discharge their combined sewer overflows down the Red Run drain. It runs through Warren, Sterling Heights, Warren, Clinton Township, of course, Mount Clemens, goes down to Harrison Township, eventually goes right out into Lake St. Clair.
So the concern is that Macomb County doesn't have jurisdiction over that.
That is correct.
But,
And,
so if there were ever any issues, Warren residents have to contact Oakland County as opposed to you, even though it's in the Macomb County.
the discharge has been permitted by EGLE, their department. They are permitted to treat their discharge and send it all into Macomb County. I would just say this, Commissioner. Can you imagine if it was the other way around and Macomb County was discharging billions of gallons of combined sewer overflow into Oakland County? As I've told my friend and colleague over there, maybe we could put it all in Cass Lake. How about that? I mean, why are you sending it down here? Into Lake St. Clair, by the way, which is our drinking water supply for almost 4 million people. So, but that's another, I think before we can really be serious about anything there, we need to clean up our own issue because they just say, well, you're doing the same thing, which is true. We got to stop doing it here.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Van Sickle.
I withdrew my request. Thank you.
Commissioner Zinner.
Commissioner Song, you have a darling little boy there. That's your little intern, right?
Yes, I have 4 of them actually.
Oh, wow.
The complete staff. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Candace, I believe quite a few years ago, you weren't commissioner as you are now, but many years ago, I believe when Judge Marlingo was a prosecutor, he was ordered to prosecute Oakland County for pollution. If we can go back that far. Do you remember that?
I sort of vaguely remember it. You know, people have said to me now, why don't you, meaning me, I guess, which would really should be the Board of Commissioners or the county executive or what, Macomb County, why don't you sue Oakland County? Here's the issue. They're permitted. So it's sort of like you're going to sue your neighbor who's speeding down your road, but they only went 25 miles an hour, but you think they ought to go 15. They're within the law. They have a permit to do what they're doing. So I really don't know what basis I would sue them on right now. I've asked our state legislatures to consider amending the state law. You know, that's really, I mean, all of these retention basins, including our Chapaton and Martin, and the George W. Kuhn, and every other retention basin in the state has to have a permit from EGLE. And they are permitted to treat their sewage as they are and discharge it on us. Although I will also tell you that there are many times that they are in violation of their permit, which I've brought up to EGLE. In fact, one time, I went down there after a heavy rain event, walked down there, and Commissioner Song, you live in that area, you're familiar. You see all the beautiful trees, and you know that place is full of deer and beautiful critters. I walked down there, and all these sewer wipes that people keep, unfortunately, putting down the sewer were hanging from all the trees. I didn't even know what I was looking at first. I thought, what the heck is that? It looked like Christmas trees. It was sewer wipes. In other words, when they discharge, the level of sewage goes right to the top of banks there. And then when it goes down, all these wipes and every other disgusting thing you can think about is down in the Red Run drain.
It is a little concerning, and that's why I kind of brought it up. I think a while ago, the federal government had set up an inter-county agency, and that's how it sort of functions now. But it's a little concerning for me, knowing that Macomb County doesn't have any jurisdiction over that area. And if residents did have issues like what you encountered, they couldn't come to you. They would have to go to Oakland County. And that to me doesn't really make any sense. So, you know, I'm in favor of, you know, talking to the state legislators and asking them if they can amend that law, because laws can be changed, and I think it should be. My understanding is that Oakland County probably also receives federal funding as a result of having jurisdiction over the Red Run Creek too. So we're missing out on some of that, those federal dollars because we don't have, oversight for that area.
It's true. Now, the jurisdiction of the Red Run drain, it's actually in Macomb County. That's its own drain. So when we do things there, it's an inter-county drain, right? So it's not just in Macomb, it's Oakland and Macomb. And then when we have those drain boards, it's myself, Jim Nash, who's the Water Resources Commissioner in Oakland County, and a fellow named Mike Gregg, who's from the state, who serves on these inter-county drain boards. So, we do a lot of different kinds of things in the Red Run drain, but they are the Oakland County George W. Kuhn facility is permitted by the state to they have to discharge somewhere, and that's where they're discharging into the Red Run, which goes right at the border of Macomb.
Thank you very much. We have another question, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Oh, just very briefly, two things. Right, the first is it is in Macomb County, and you can call Candace. I think that the problem is the people creating the issue that is causing people to call you is Oakland County. So she can't stop that. The second thing is, and Candace has not been shy about saying this, we didn't get the permit for 8.5 mile. And the rationale was, well, you're already doing something we've approved of. As Candace said, why improve on it? We already approve of it. There's kind of a thought that if we improve on it and make it better, we're creating an argument that, hey, now Oakland County and others that are doing the same sort of thing, they can improve on theirs. So as long as we don't rock the boat, then everybody gets to keep doing what they're doing. And Candace has openly talked about that. So I just wanted to point that out, that I don't know if there's a correlation, but it certainly makes sense that the two could be connected to each other.
There is a definite correlation, Commissioner. I believe that totally, because I've heard some of their staff say it. Well, if you fix this, then what are we going to do with Oakland? They're going to have to fix theirs. You know how much that costs? It's no. There's a definite correlation there.
Thank you very much. Actually, I have a question for you, Candace. The 9 Mile pump station, the issue that you're looking to resolve, do we have any other pumps around the county that have a similar issue that we'll have to address later, or is it just because that one's much older than other areas of the county?
We don't have anything like that. No, that's a particular unique circumstance with that. But as I mentioned to you, we have done the master plan for every, just as the road commission, the Department of Roads has their master plan for all the roads in the county. We should have an underground master plan. Was never done. We didn't have one. So what we did is we hired a consulting engineer. We talked to every single municipality in Macomb County about what their needs were, all of the kinds of things that they might be looking to us to help them with. And, so we have a lot of different projects because of the master plan, but this pump station is a spinoff from talking to the city of St. Clair Shores and East Point about what has to happen at Chappaton.
I appreciate that. Commissioner Brown, one more question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Kleinfeld and Commissioner Song both raised good issues. Macomb County has long been the leader for water quality, water prevention, and pollution efforts. It's not the Midwest, the whole country, from the actions we've taken, the proactive steps we've taken to try to address the issue. Money is always the issue. And Commissioner Song and her discussion with Candace made me think of an issue. Why don't we discuss local? They're getting a lot of money too, just like us, right? Well, it seems to me maybe we could reach over the fence and talk to our neighbors. You're flushing the toilet and the pipe's going right in our backyard and into our water supply. Why don't you help us work together with us to help fix it? Why don't you toss in a little bit of money to help fix the drain, help fix the problem? And maybe we could partner together with Oakland County and maybe somebody else and see if they'd be willing to help toss some money in the kitty to help us fix this problem. It's worth talking about. Now, I'm a cynic too, and I'm going to say, well, probably, but it might be worth a shot. It might be worth a chance to get the discussion going about the need, because that whole infrastructure is really the whole region's problem. That what they're doing is causing us a problem, and everyone knows it. And surely they got a conscience to say, how could you just allow this to continue without doing anything to help us remediate in some way? And
I hope that every county commissioner will think about calling the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. And yeah, I hope you call Dave Woodward and just tell him that same exact thing. Because
we've had the discussion on the regional infrastructure issues, and that's the one thing we all agree on. And
yeah,
this is a topic that was going to be coming up at the right time.
Jim Nash, my counterpart, Jim Nash, he doesn't, I mean, he is so sick of me talking about this. So I'm just telling you, I've got to go. But, you know, he doesn't budget, just like I'm asking you for stimulus funds. Same thing's happening in every county, right? The Oakland Board of Commissioners is going to go through their budget process. They're going to decide how to spend it. So anything that he could do would be great.
Well, we could always shame them anyway, and maybe they'll do something right. And going to Commissioner Zinner's question, Carmelinga did bring a suit, or threatened to bring a suit against Oakland County for what they were doing at the time. And it didn't go anywhere because basically for the reason that Trade Commissioner said, that they already had the permit to pollute. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Candace, Brian.
I'm so sorry. Could I just say something last time? It's kind of unrelated, but it is related because we're talking about Oakland County. There was an article in the Free Press that talked about the vaccines at Ford Field. 43% of Oakland County received that, while in the city of Detroit, only 7% of Detroit residents actually received the vaccine from the Ford Field. So there's a huge disparity, equity issue. And Oakland County is one of the richest counties, or the folks that live there, compared to Detroit. So I just thought I'd put that out there as well, since we're talking about Oakland County. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Song, you are spot on with that. As I've mentioned to my counterpart in Oakland County, listen, if you have municipalities like East Point that is going to pay to stop dumping these combined sewer overflows, maybe they could take a drive around East Point. If that's not a distressed community, I don't know what isn't, economically, right? So I understand the cost of it, but we have the political will in Macomb County. As has been said here, we've been a national leader on water quality. We do have the political will to try to do what we need to do to solve some of these problems. And all of our neighbors should try to do the same.
Thank you very much for coming before us, Candace, Brian, Vince. Appreciate your time. At this time, we do have a motion on the floor. And Mike, if you can put up the vote. This is to receive and file.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, Mike. Commissioners, thank you. Let's move on to item 7A. It's a resolution 2021-6302. This is authorizing the filing of a petition with the County Public Works Commission on the 8.5 mile drain district that was mentioned earlier. If I can have a motion to recommend this to the full board.
So move, Van Sickle.
Second, Nard.
Van Sickle makes a motion. Nard seconds it. Brian Baker, please. Brian, I saw you on the call a minute ago.
Dang mute, I'm sorry. Thank you, commissioners. And yeah, this is the project that Candace just described, the in-system storage project. And that's what's going to reduce combined CSOs into Lake St. Clair at the Chapter pump station by 30–40%, and it's going to improve water quality. She talked about this is a separate Chapter 20 drain board. So ultimately, that board will be in charge of the project, but the state drain code requires a petition from 2 government entities that formally request this project. And that is needed when there is a new asset being added or an improvement being added to the drainage district. So that The Chapman Pump Station is in St. Clair Shores. They've already held their public hearing that was required and approved the petition last month. And we're requesting this board to also then approve our request to consider this project as well through petition. The county, as Candace says, does have a small share of the cost, but it makes sense as if we don't get full funding from you, that we would have to finance the rest, and we'd certainly ask the county for its full faith and credit pledge. So, and as Veronica mentioned, we also presented this to the city of East Point as well, so they are aware. So this is approving the petition for the next steps for the 8.5 mile drain board to consider the project and review plans, costs, and hold public meetings and publish notices. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. I don't see any questions from commissioners. So Mike, if you can put it up for a vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Candace. Appreciate your department. This time, I'd like to move on to item 7B. This is a contract with Midwest Power Systems for the stormwater mechanical and electrical systems. I believe we have Brian Santo joining us to answer any. Oh, first of all, I'd like to ask for a motion to recommend to the full board.
Motion to recommend.
Support.
Support Romano.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Nard, support by Romano. Brian, are you on the call?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chairman Farrington and Commissioners. This is seeking approval for a contract award to Midwest Power Systems. We have approximately 25 pumps that fall within Harrison Township that do take on stormwater, obviously with the low-lying area of Harrison Township itself. Back in the day, they installed these to facilitate stormwater drainage in this area. And this is basically an upgrade to the aging system of these pumps. We're hoping to have all 25 replaced, and we do allocate a budget amount per year and hoping to have all 25 upgraded by 2023. So this would be an allocation for this year that we had in our budget. There were bids taken, I believe 3 bidders, and this was the low bid from that advertisement.
Thank you, Brian. Vice Chair Song has a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. So do you guys normally take the lowest bid, or is this a company that's been vetted? What was the reasoning behind the selection?
This is a low bid. With contract services, we do go through an evaluation process, but this is a contract for actual construction work or replacement of the pump. So that is a low bid system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're very welcome.
Seeing no other questions for Brian, Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to agenda item 7C. This is a contract with MDOT resurfacing a 32-mile road from Wolcott Road to Hicks Road. Brian, if you can make quick comments.
Chair, I'll make a motion first.
Thank you very much.
Support Wallace.
Song makes a motion. Commissioner Wallace provides a second. Brian, go ahead. Thank you, ladies.
Yes, seeking approval of the standard MDOT contract. This is a program. It's a rural pavement preservation program that we get federal dollars for on an annual basis. We take a look and evaluate mostly the northern communities and roadways that are designated rural versus urban. So this money goes towards the rural roads that we have. And this is pretty much about a 75%, 25% split, where the federal funds are 75% and we contribute 25% matching funds. So seeking approval of this MDOT contract for that program.
Thank you, Brian. Vice Chair Song, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Is there a warranty on the resurfacing, or how long will this last before it gets patched up or redone?
As far as warranties, this doesn't rise to the amount that would warrant a warranty. You know, through MDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, I believe the total needs to be of road work $2 million or over to promote warranties of that nature. As far as this program, it's just a single lift resurfacing with minimal repairs to the existing surface. I would say this is probably a 6 to 8 or 9 year repair, kind of a Band-Aid to prolong the existing condition of the existing roadway.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Matuszek.
Just a question, Brian. How much money comes to the county under the Rural Pavement Preservation Program in a year? I mean, is this like this
it varies year to year,
most of the money?
This year we got federal funds in the amount of $320,957.50. It's somewhere in that range on an annual basis. It just depends on, you know, the pot of money that's distributed to our county as well as others.
Yeah. So basically, this project eats up the allocation for the year. Is that?
That is correct. It doesn't go very far, but it
yeah, right. Yeah. No, it's good. And how do we pick which project is going to be funded in a given year?
Well, we have select in fewer rural roads to pick from that this would actually apply to. Most of our roads are urban that are paved. So it's pretty much the 32-mile road corridor, some other corridors, New Haven Road as it goes out to the west from New Haven that do fall under the rural designation. So it's kind of a limited selection process as far as roadways are concerned.
Yeah. Well, hey, I take any little pot of money that comes along.
For sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no further questions for Brian, Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We move on to item 7D, contract for SME geotechnical services for the 2021 bridge projects. I'd like to ask for a motion to recommend this to the full board.
Motion to recommend.
Motion by Commissioner Nard,
Second, Zinner.
seconded by Zinner. Brian, please, you have the floor.
Yes, we put out a request for proposals for services that we cannot perform internally. And this is for our bridge program. It's basically boring certain locations within the county as far as our bridge locations are concerned. And there's a breakdown of the preliminary estimates as found in the package. We're looking at, I think, probably a half a dozen locations for both boring and geotechnical report support and substructure design. And this was obviously a scoring system that was not low bid because it's contract services. So we did do a scoring based on experience, their people that they have employed, as well as cost that were part of the evaluation. And SME did score the highest at a 14.83 as shown in your packet. So requesting approval to award the contract to SME for these geotechnical services that are requested and necessary for us.
Thank you, Brian. I believe this is the one I had a question on. Is there 3 people that provide the scoring apparatus?
On this particular one, yes, there were. There were 3 raters.
And without mentioning names, obviously, how are those 3 people selected and what are their backgrounds?
The 2 out of the 3 I know were, one was our previous bridge engineer that oversaw that program. That person was promoted, and the replacement was another internal engineer that took over the bridge program that is familiar with bridge projects. So 2 out of the 3 were definitely heavy bridge engineer and engineer experienced.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no other speakers, Mike, if you can put up the vote on 7D.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, Mike. We're moving on to agenda item 7E, cost share agreement, Clinton Township regarding Garfield Road from 17 Mile Road to Canal Road. I'd like to ask for a motion to recommend to the full board.
Matusek moves.
Support Nard.
Motion made. Matusek, Commissioner Matusek makes the recommendation. Commissioner Nard seconded it. Brian, please, you have the floor.
Yes, this is a typical cost share agreement, and this would be for a project on Garfield Road between 17 Mile Road and Canal. This is basically a mill and fill project that we're looking at building this year in 2021, and it's a cost share that basically splits the remainder of the cost share. We do have federal dollars in the amount of about 75% coverage as far as federal dollars, and the remaining about 25% is split between us and Clinton Township for this project, proposed project. So seeking approval of this cost share agreement with Clinton Township.
So if this is 75% covered by the federal government, the total project is something like 2.5 million. Is that correct?
Actually, the overall cost is just under 5 million. So we have federal funds of about 3.7 million, and we have a shared cost between us and Clinton Township of approximately 1.3 million.
So this one would fall under the warranty program then?
Yes, the warranty is not a requirement on all projects. It is basically up to the communities and the counties to determine which ones they choose to warranty. Obviously, we have to move this in front of MDOT as far as acceptance and what we move forward with. I know the previous county highway engineer, Walter Schell, was part of the board that sat in on the wording and verbiage for the warranties moving forward. And this is something that our new county highway engineer is going to have to get on board with as far as warranties and what that represents as far as the county's concerned. This one may fall under that requirement, but it's not all projects that need to fall under that. There is a threshold, but it is up to the counties to determine what they want to move forward with, what they choose not to. But the threshold is $2 million as far as actual road work is concerned.
Would there be any reason we as a county wouldn't want to go through the warranty program?
It just depends. I mean, warranties are good in a sense that it does put some of the onus on the contractor. However, it does drive costs up. And sometimes there's a issue and challenge with enforcing the warranties and what do we get them to come back to do and what do we struggle with them legally to try and get them to come back to do. There are some issues. I know MDOT has done some warranty work and it has not been flawless as far as what the end result in is, as far as the projects that are done and getting the contractors to come back and fix work that is under dispute or debate. So
thank you for that. That's informative.
You're very welcome.
Seeing no other speakers, Mike, if you can put 7E up for a vote.
Commissioner Song votes yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. We're going to move on to agenda item 7F, cost share agreement, Clinton Township reconstruction, water main replacement, Lipke Road from 15 Mile Road to Laurel. Brian, floor. Oh, first, if I could have a motion to recommend to the full board.
Matusek moves.
Moved by Commissioner Matusek, seconded by Commissioner Wallace. Thank you very much. Brian, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This is F and G are actually similar in nature, just different communities. F is a cost share agreement with Clinton Township. Both F and G are part of our sub reconstruct program that we have annually. We put up $2 million of match money that the communities, townships can partake in and go within their subdivisions mainly and primarily to do reconstructs. It's on them to get a special assessment or put up the money for half of the funding to totally rehabilitate and replace subdivision roadways within their community. And this project is within Clinton Township. The township has requested to include water main improvement that is 100% their cost, but it is more functional to do it through this project than to do it separately. So we have included that, which is 100% cost on them. But as far as the roadway is concerned, that would be a 50-50 split for our sub reconstruct program, and seeking approval for this cost share agreement with Clinton Township with the county cost of $499,070 estimated.
Thank you, Brian. Seeing no questions from commissioners, Mike, if you can put it up for a vote.
That motion, that motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. And we're on item 7G, cost share agreement, Harrison Township 2021 subdivision reconstruction, Belvedere Street. I'd like to have a motion to recommend to the full board.
Moved by Kleinfeld.
Moved by Kleinfeld. Second.
Support Wallace.
Support by Wallace. Brian already kind of spoke on this, so are there any questions from commissioners?
Chair, I have a question. I did something with my buttons here.
Commissioner Zinner, I saw. Yep.
Thank you. Brian, with your explanation that you just gave previously, I appreciate that. When you do this yearly with the, how you just explain that about going to the communities and redoing the roads?
Yes, this is an annual program where annually we have $2 million in match money that we send notices out to the communities, and they can choose to move forward with projects within their community that fall within the subdivisions for a total reconstruct. This isn't for patchwork. This isn't for minor work. This is for total rehabilitation and drainage improvements that are going to make the roadway last a lot longer. So this is a program that we offer a 50-50. So we contribute 50%, and then the community has to get 50%, whether they put in the money themselves or they go after a special assessment district to the adjacent property owners along this roadway that we would redo. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. My question is would you likely go to other areas than what you did this year, or does it depend on the situation of the road when you make these choices for next year or for the next year after that?
Well, it's up to the communities to bring forward their requests. And we typically have 3, 4, or 5 communities that partake and participate in this program that we have. We'd like to see more, but on a year-to-year basis, it's probably 3 to 4 that actually get projects through this program that we have. It's money that's available, and we'd like to use it to its fullest capabilities.
I wish I would have whispered that to you and not have the rest of the commissioners hear that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. Brian, is that township exclusive, or is that the cities as well?
That's the townships. The other agencies are Act 51, their own agencies, so they get funding.
Okay.
So the townships do not. So they have an avenue as far as the cities and villages that get their own Act 51 to take.
And we do know that the Act 51 dollars do not cover the cost of the maintenance that we do. So correct. The $2 million that we do it's our choice as a county to do that. We use up all that Act 51 dollars we get for the townships. It's separate from that $2 million, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So since that's the case, would it be fair for that to be something that would be opened up to all communities?
Well, once again, the Act 51 agencies, the cities and villages, get their own funding revenues and resources.
Yes, and they also have to spend more money than the Act 51 money that they bring in. So we get Act 51 money for the townships, and we spend that money in the maintenance and all the different things that we do with that. We spend all of that money. This 2 million is something that we choose to do. It's something that we as a county have decided to do. Is that correct?
Yes, but when you refer to cities and villages, though, we only have control of primary roads that run through cities and villages. So every other road is considered a local road, which is outside our jurisdiction as a county. So we wouldn't be able to spend money on that Act 51 money on those roads because those are their designated roads.
We cannot spend Act 51 money, but the $2 million is over and above the Act 51 money, correct? We spend all the Act 51 money that we get in for the townships.
I'm sorry, let me recap or go back here. The township money that we get for mostly maintenance, we spend on the townships. That's not all the Act 51 money that we get as a county. We get, I think we're projected next year to get 72 or 73 million of MTF funds, Michigan Transportation Funds, Act 51 dollars. What we're looking at as far as what we get allocated specifically for the townships doesn't come close to the 73 million. But the money that we do get is something less than that, and we do spend that just on general maintenance for the township. So the $2 million is actually Act 51 monies that are separate from the allocations from the townships. We get revenue for registration fees and population and stuff like that too.
I'm sorry. So it would have to be spent on county roads or township roads.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions from commissioners, Mike, if you can put this up for a vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. We're on to agenda item 7H, cost share agreement, Sterling Heights, resurfacing of Metropolitan Parkway from Andrew Drive to Dodge Park Road. Brian, first of all, if I could have a motion recommended to the full board.
Romano recommends the full board.
Romano makes the recommendation. Nard provides a second and support. Brian, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is seeking approval of cost share agreement with Sterling Heights. We do have a proposed project, as noted, on Metropolitan Parkway between Andrew, which is just east of Van Dyke, where we left off with an improvement project last year for the intersection, and it goes all the way to the east to Dodge Park. Participation with this, we're getting approximately just under $2 million in federal funding, which leaves a balance of about $2.2 million, a little bit over that, as far as a cost share between us and the city of Sterling Heights. So seeking approval of this cost share with them for that project that's upcoming and proposed.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any speakers on this?
Chair, if I may, Commissioner Romano?
Yes. Commissioner Romano, please.
Thank you. Brian, you knew I wasn't going to let you get away with it, did you?
No, Commissioner, definitely not.
You know, I had to stick in my 2 cents. That is sorely needed. Sterling Heights from as you say, Andrew, almost Van Dyke, or where Meyer is at, all the way up to Dodge Park. Getting that repaired or replaced would be great. Brian, we're right on Metro Parkway. Now we are on Dodge Park, just east of Dodge Park, on the south side of 16 Mile Road between Dodge Park and the First Street. They have repaired, replaced, repaired, replaced, repaired, and repaired. While they're out there, Brian, just a thought, if you could, maybe they can mill down a couple of those areas there that look like washboards. I mean, it's within probably 200 yards of where they're going to be stopping at Dodge Park. If you could maybe put that on a notation or maybe have somebody take a look at it, I would be forever grateful. Honestly, cross my heart, just got a call from a constituent yesterday asking about it, and I said I would bring it up to you today at today's meeting. And if you would, I would certainly appreciate it. That's all I got. Thanks, Brian. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll note that, and we can take a look at it for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Seeing no other speakers, Mike, if you can put this up for a vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. And we're on to agenda item number 7I, cost share agreement, Warren and Roseville, rehabilitate Hayes Road from 10 Mile Road to 11 Mile Road. If I could have a motion to recommend to the full board.
Motion by Nard.
Second Zinner.
Motion by Nards, supported by Zinner. Brian, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is once again a cost share agreement seeking approval with the city of Warren and Roseville for an upcoming project on 10 Mile, I'm sorry, on Hayes between 10 Mile and 11 Mile. That cost share is approximately 2/3 federal funds and 1/3 of match money split between the city of Roseville, city of Warren, and the Department of Roads. Seeking approval once again for that cost share agreement approval.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kleinfeld has a question.
He's
Finally.
laughing. I want to say thank you, Brian. I have been on poor Brian. I have been hounding him about this section for probably about 4 years now. And
Much needed for her.
Originally, the estimate that they had online for the repair there was like $150,000. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think they've seen this road in a while. So I'm very excited about getting some of the federal funds as well to do this because it's heavily traveled and it's in absolutely horrendous conditions. So thank you, and I can let you live in peace now. Thank you, Chair.
No worries, Commissioner. It's well warranted as far as the need. We did reevaluate. We had original mill and fill for the entire section, and then we reevaluated that fix because some of it is a total reconstruct that we're having to do as necessary because of the condition. So
So how long should the repairs be good for them, Brian?
As far as the reconstruct portion, that would be 20 years plus as far as the full reconstruct. I'd say for the mill and fill and overlay repairs, we're hoping to get at least a good 10 years out of that structure.
I was just wondering what it took from Commissioner Kleinfeld's 4 years of efforts, how many years we get out of it. So thank you.
Should be well worth it.
Seeing no other questions before this item, Mike has put this up for a vote. Thank you, Mike.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Commissioners. Agenda item 7J, revised cost share agreement, Macomb Township, reconstruction widening of 23 Mile from North Avenue to Card Road. I'd like to have a motion recommended to the full board.
Romano recommends the full board.
Romano makes the motion, and I did not hear support.
Support by Sabatini.
Support by Sabatini. Thank you very much, Brian. The floor is yours.
Yes, and this is a revised cost share. We had a previous cost share that was approved with Macomb Township for this particular project on 23 Mile Road, and this was more so a request on the township's end. When we do original cost shares, the cost is basically an estimate, and that's done in advance of the project, in advance of the bidding of the project and awarding to the contractor. So because we opted to move forward just as well as the township with this project, even though there was a higher cost as far as the bidding time, they requested a revised cost share be sent out to them so they can approve that as far as the higher cost. I know originally we had estimated a construction estimate of about $6 million, and the construction estimate actually was closer to 6.9. So this is just to do housekeeping and make sure that they're comfortable with the revised cost share amount. So seeking approval of this revised cost share agreement with Macomb Township.
Thank you very much, Brian. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Brian. The estimates on these projects, this engineering estimate was, how long ago was this estimate made?
That's sometimes part of the problem. We do estimates, and because of the lag in some of the processes as far as the mdot bid letting process, we try and estimate as close as possible when we actually build the project. Sometimes the projects, for whatever reason, whether it's right-of-way acquisitions or sometimes SHPO or environmental assessment issues that we deal with that delay the project from 1 year to the next, there obviously are increases in cost that don't get recognized in the original cost share agreement. So this was one of those projects where, obviously the cost was increased as far as the estimate to actual construction time than the actual bid. We don't have a crystal ball as far as what the contractors bid in these projects. As far as the actual construction end of it, we're taking a best guess and best estimate that we can with the tools that we have available to us. But sometimes the projects get delayed. Sometimes those adjustments aren't recognized, and we try and make it right with a revised cost share agreement. So
What were the issues driving the increased costs in this job? Was it materials? Was it unexpected right-of-way purchases?
Well, with some of the delays,
it was a significant increase, right? It was a significant increase, and so
it was, went from 6 to 6.9. These are larger projects, so a number of factors. Obviously, this is a time that we had from over a year ago with COVID. Obviously, material prices have went up within the last, year to year and a half. There's a lot of different factors. Contractors are bidding things a little higher at times. Like I said, there's multiple factors, but like I said, we did have a previous cost share agreement with them. As far as the township, they're in agreement with moving forward with the additional costs that came in as far as the construction estimate in the bid time. So we're just, like I said, trying to get the paperwork to accurately represent what it should.
And they're splitting that 50-50, right? The addition?
That is correct. So the increase was accepted on both our behalf and the townships, and they are, through this cost share agreement, obviously doing their fair share as far as the 50% of the match money outside of the federal.
Is there anything that could improve the process with the early bids? Is there any? You've been doing this a long time, so it's probably. But is there any ideas about how we could improve that so that, because these townships, the dollars matter to them. This is a significant amount of money for townships to be paying match money up like that, and to get a bump like that could affect some of their budgets dramatically, and maybe even stop the project. Then in this case, they couldn't stop because the project's already started. They're not going to stop it. So, but.
Yeah, that determination was made on our behalf and both the townships at bid time. We could have went back to bid and tried to get a lower bid, but the increase was not as significant to turn that bid down and try and advertise it again. And that was accepted both on our end and the township's end as far as the approval of that. There are things that we're doing right now. As I mentioned before, we are in kind of a revamping of our program here internally with the roads department with asset management and moving forward with that program that we have. We're onboarding that. We've been through numerous meetings and discussions with our owner's rep, HNTB, to put us on a track that's better off for future forecasting. And that has to do with timeframes as far as when we start projects and when we want to have them advertised and when we want to build them, to ensure that the funding is there and to ensure that those are timely when we want to build them and not have these delays that sometimes come along. So we are in the process of correcting that and improving that system internally.
Very good. I'm glad to hear it. This has been a long project. That's a major thoroughfare for east-west route, North Hall Road, and that's a bottleneck. And that's something this has been a long-term project. Somebody like me has been around a long time. We've watched it start from the west and worked its way to the east, and we're getting there. We're almost there. So I'm really glad when it's finally done. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, man, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time again.
No problem. Thank you very much. See no other speakers. Mike, if you can put this up for a vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Mike.
Take care and be well.
At this time, I'd like to go on to agenda item 8, correspondence. Ask for a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive by Nard.
Nard makes the motion. Support?
Support, Kleinfeld.
Support by Kleinfeld. Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, commissioners. We're on to agenda item number 9, new business. Let me just. Commissioner Song, you're up for first. Go ahead.
Yes, did we approve all the correspondences already?
Yes,
The
we
review
did.
of them? Okay. All right.
It's just receive and file on the correspondence. So this is new business.
Okay, great. So there are quite a few open appointments on the COVID appointment website. So I encourage any of you who haven't had a chance to schedule one. I did just check. There's all the locations. There's a ton of appointments. So I think we're sort of getting to a point now where people don't have to log on and check the website every 10 minutes. It appears they're adding more appointments, so that's a good thing. I also just want to say, earlier I had a chance to tour the Macomb Food Program warehouse, and I just want to thank Ernest, who's the director at Macomb Community Action, Linda Azar, the division director, and Shannon Mallory, who's the program manager for the food program. I did apply to serve on the board, and so I just want to make that disclosure to everyone. I don't anticipate there being any conflicts, but if there is ever anything that's on the agenda that needs to be voted on, then I'll make my announcement at that time to abstain from any votes. But I thought I would let you guys know, and if you do have an opportunity to tour it, I would highly recommend it. They're doing an amazing job over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Song. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to remind everybody, Max Legislative Virtual Conference is next week, the 28th and 29th. A couple of the items of interest, they are going to have a breakout session on the county apportionment process. We're all interested in that, obviously. Maybe they'll be able to give us some information on some timelines. On the 29th, we will have the House Speaker, the Senate Majority Leader, and the House Minority Leader all speaking together about legislative issues. So that ought to be very interesting, I think. And then Dina and Megan are doing a legislative 101 for anybody interested. And then the last thing we're all going to miss, because we've got a meeting that day on the 29th, is they are bringing in the Justice of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, to come in and talk to commissioners. So anybody interested, just putting it on your radar, because you have to not just be registered for the conference, but register for each individual breakout session ahead of time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the update, Commissioner Kleinfeld. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. I want to give everyone an update of where we're at with the chief of staff position. It's in the it went to the finance department. We're waiting to hear back from them. Hopefully any day now to approve. They're going to send me a posting that we could post for the position, hopefully by this Friday. So as soon as I get that posting, I'll share with all of you, and it'll be posted for 10 days. So stand by for that. And so we're like all the other departments that sometimes come to us and they're complaining about the slow process that get people replaced. There's got a process, and I'm living it. So, but we'll hopefully have it soon. So as soon as I get it, hopefully by Friday, I'll share that posting with all of you. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I don't believe we have anyone else asking to speak on new business. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, public participation the second time. This is the second opportunity for public participation. It's for those who wish to speak on issues other than what was on today's agenda. You'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to comment. For those planning to speak during public participation, please be advised, according to Rule 21 of the Adopted Board Rules, personal attacks, coarse and derogatory language, and cursing will not be tolerated. Individuals using such language will be removed from the meeting. Also, those who call in by phone for public participation will be asked to speak first and in an orderly fashion. Those who join virtually will be asked to type their name into the Google chat box. Those names will then be called in order of which they are received. Staff, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
Chair, there does not appear to be anyone wishing to speak.
Okay, I don't see anyone in the chat box either. I'll give it just another moment for public participation on items that were not on today's agenda. Seeing no one in the chat box or on the phone lines, we're closing public participation. Agenda item number 11 is adjournment. I'd like to have a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn by Romano.
Romano makes a motion to adjourn, supported by?
Zinner.
Supported by Zinner. Mike, if you can put up the vote.
Romano verbally votes yes.
Wallace votes yes.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, commissioners. I appreciate you all. Have a great night and a great rest of the week. Take care.